I'm Tyler, and this is my story. I was born just south of Wichita, Kansas, to a 16-year-old mom who was addicted to drugs and a dad that wasn't in the picture. The first 6 or 7 years of my life with my two sisters were just dedicated to surviving, to living. My mom, addicted to drugs. She would go and leave me and my two sisters by ourselves for weeks at a time. So we had to figure out how to eat. So what we'd do is we'd just go, when our neighbors would go to work, we'd break into their house and we'd find food, eat. We would bathe because we didn't have any running water. And that's kind of a cycle that we went through every single day. We moved from place to place, house to house, to apartments, to sometimes living in hotels, to sometimes living, in a park when we couldn't afford a place, sometimes, sleeping under a bridge, wherever we could find shelter. And so eventually my sisters would go live with my grandma, but I would stay living with my mom, and we would do the same thing. I would do the same thing by myself this time, until I eventually was put into foster care. And so from about 7 years old until I was 18, I was in and out of foster home until I was about 10 years old, and then I was permanently placed in foster care. And these foster homes, some of them are really, really godly. Some of them, show me what love was. They were great. But the majority of them, they physically, mentally, and sexually abused us. They only used us for money. And once they got their money, they couldn't handle us anymore. They would just ship us off to the next place. And so we went through that until I turned 18. And, I was an angry, deeply depressed, sad, anxious, and really any negative emotion that you could think of. That's what I was like as a teenager. And that bled into my adult life. And so after I graduated high school, I met my future wife, and I joined the Army. To start our marriage, I went to Iraq and Afghanistan for a couple tours, and I came back, and I just carried more baggage with me from those deployments on top of what I dealt with as a child, and I didn't know how to handle it. And so I went down a deep 15-year dark hole of sin and just trying to find everything I could in the world to fill those holes and to cope with the pain that I had. And that led to me being a terrible husband and an absent father to our 3 kids. And eventually, my wife kicked me out. She told me to leave. I tried to fill that hole with even more stuff, even more worldly things that just didn't work. And so eventually I thought, man, I lost my family. I don't have parents. I want to rest. I want peace. I thought the only way to do that was to end my life. But God had other plans. It wasn't my time. And so right before I was about to do it, my son called me and he said, "Hey Dad, I can't wait to see you tomorrow, and I miss you." And so the next day, I told my wife everything, and she was very supportive, very sympathetic, and the most important thing that she told me was I needed to find God. I didn't know how to do that, so I knew that she went to a church for the last couple years, and so I was like, well, I'll just reach out to that church. That church happened to be FBCN and Pastor Jeremy. And so I reached out to him on Facebook, and he said, "Get up here immediately." And I was like, all right. So I got up there, and within an hour, I gave my life to Christ. Fully. I fully surrendered everything to him. And I can't really explain what happened in the room, like how I felt, but there is a verse that I hold true to my heart that can explain it, I think, a lot, and it's Matthew 11:28. It says, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy burdened, and I'll give you rest." I was looking for rest my entire life through all these worldly things, and I didn't find it until I found Jesus. And at that moment, it's like he took it off of my back and put it on his, all these burdens that I had, all these holes in my heart. And he said, "Hey, it's good now, I got it." And everything has been great since then. Not perfect, but it's been great for me. I have my family back. I've been moved to the Newcastle community, which I'm very grateful for. And You know, I've found the peace that I can't explain. And the most important thing, I found unconditional love that I was looking for. And that's only through Jesus. You know, I cursed God, I blamed God, I didn't believe in God, turned my back on God, and He still forgave me, and He still loves me. And now I'm living for God.